No fucking way. No way did they make deck building more interesting.
Necros. Deck building in that format was about as fun as listening to Joe Biden and Donald Trump discuss the top 5 meta decks of 2020.
China, the American people, the Senate, billions of dollars, Antifa.
But what do you think about archetypes and good stuff? 33% of the people who watch my last
chat, what do you guys think about not regardless of whether you liked Nadir's liked his comedy or anything like that? To me, like, I just don't think current deck building is that interesting. Like, he's giving some examples of archetypes that have synergy together, like Phantom Knights and Burning Abyss, but that doesn't really make it more interesting. The fact that you can just throw in a couple of archetypes that kind of work together, to me, that doesn't make things more interesting. Archetypes are necessary for the game to thrive. They build strong fan bases, but current deck building is dog shit. You know what? That's actually a good point. That actually might be a good point I've never thought of, is that archetypes build very strong fan bases. You have people who just love, and you can see this when you go on like Facebook, the fact that there are hundreds of Yu-Gi-Oh groups, from the Trickstar group to the Generator group to the Burning Abyss group, Sky Striker, etc., etc. That's a good point. But to me, when he kind of generalizes it with the machine deck, I can't find it. He says, fucking hell, Nadir. It's a 4-minute video. I don't know why I can't find this shit.
Money line go brrr. This smoke grenade of attack of monsters like this is 2007 machines. We're playing machine duplication to double the attack of monsters like Sangan, Block, Dragon, and my favorite machine, of course, smoke grenade of... It's all smoke grenade. Always has been. So you're seeing a pattern here where old decks basically just played a bunch of good generic cards that were run in multiple decks across the board.
Yeah, but the problem is that didn't necessarily that wasn't necessarily true for monsters. And I don't know if you could argue like there were that many powerful trap cards. I just felt like you had more creativity because there were more. Maybe this is it, chat. I think there was more creativity in deck building back, like obviously pre-Art V, because there were more ways to kind of create a deck. Like, I mean, do you guys think burn is a legitimate strategy? Like, I'd argue it's not. You take one card out the game, chat. Take one card out the game, and burn dies forever. Take Mystic Mind out of the game. You'll never see another fucking burn deck ever. Like, you have like certain ways to win, like burn or I mean, even really OTK, like that's something that just doesn't really exist in Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, there is no what's an OTK deck in Yu-Gi-Oh right now, chat? Like, I'd argue it doesn't exist because people would rather just build boards. And unless you can think of a deck that like strictly goes second. I'm talking about like a relevant deck. Don't be like, well, Fluffles actually, CapG. I'm talking about like a exact Crusadia. Who plays Crusadia other than fucking Chainlink, chat? Like, seriously. Crusadia, by the way, that is a good example. The problem is it's like not relevant. Crusadia is like a good example. That deck is straight up like Wrecking Ball through building. Like, that's all the Ghost Second Crusade, all it does is like just Wrecking Ball. I do agree with that, but it's like not relevant. I guess Grin Maju kind of. I'm a fan of archetypes. I don't know. There are different things, chat. Different like ways to win, like during GX that you just don't have. Like, burn is just not. I didn't get to read what Big Pimpin wrote. I wanted to. Unchained. I mean, I'm not like the greatest Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, I don't have the greatest knowledge of the meta. My understanding is Unchained like just doesn't do anything. Like, what the fuck does Unchained do? Maybe I'm just too dumb. But okay, like burn just like doesn't work. You take Mystic Mind out of the game, chat. Burn's unplayable forever. You talk about like OTK decks, like that was an actual strategy, like forgetting about advantage and just trying to kill your opponent in one shot. I mean, you have a couple of decks that kind of do it now, but it's not really a strategy that people would kind of sell out for. The card pool is larger, so you can express yourself more uniquely, but the fact that everyone ends up playing the same shit, so he's wrong and unfunny. I'm not going to go over the unfunny part, but I do agree with that. Like, yeah, just because I feel like the argument of when you start naming decks like when you start naming decks like the one we were just talking about, Crusadia, right? Go second Crusadia. I feel like you're just talking about the card pool being larger, because what you're doing is you're just naming a deck that we know is not fucking relevant at all. That's not a viable like strategy or a win condition. You know what I mean? Decks like Demise or Cyberstein OTK, like those fucking decks won YCS's chat, or excuse me, those decks won Shonen Jump chat, like top fucking tier. But then you also had like grind decks like Monarchs, and I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of different elements in Yu-Gi-Oh that you really just don't get anymore. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can combine two archetypes that kind of work together. You can throw Speedroids and Burning Abyss or Speedroids and Phantom Knights together. But to me, that doesn't, what's it called? I thought you were a Yu-Gi-Oh encyclopedia. I am a Yu-Gi-Oh encyclopedia. I may forget about something for a second, but that doesn't mean that it's gone. He's cherry picking examples when the vast majority of Yu-Gi-Oh history is more diverse than he's given it credit for. It's recency bias. I definitely agree. I honestly think if you just polled players chat, and again, I don't mean players who just started playing like 3 years ago. Poll players chat like Lithium and I'm just using us as examples because these are people that I know have played the game for like 15 plus years. Poll players, Jeff Jones would be like an example, a perfect example. If you guys are like, well, Cap, you suck and John Moore sucks and you guys don't play the game competitively. Poll someone like Jeff Jones chat, poll someone who has played the game since like 2005 to now, and ask them if deck building is better now than it was then. Like, I don't feel like anyone, Billy Break too. Yeah, you could use Billy Break. I didn't want to name him because with Billy Break, it's kind of hard to ever know, like, is he doing Duel Links? Is he doing real Yu-Gi-Oh? I know he's kind of like back in the real Yu-Gi-Oh. But ask those players, chat. If you don't want to use people like me because you say we're just bad, go get your Jeff Joneses or your Billy Breaks. Ask those people, because those are guys who like topped Shonen Jumps in like 2006 and have also topped Shonen Jumps in like the last 3, or YCSs in like the last 3 years. Ask them if deck building is better now. I think I've told you guys about like conversion side decks. Do you guys know what conversion side decks are? Because if you don't, like, watch my videos on like CO Burn, Demise OTK, Cyberstein OTK. Like, conversion side decks used to be a huge thing in Yu-Gi-Oh. No one does it anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. It hasn't existed probably since like Zexal. You know what I mean? Smokescreen. That can be a way of calling it. A conversion side deck, chat, is when you side 15 cards. You take your entire side deck. There is no siding for matchups. You take 15 cards and you basically try to side into a completely different deck. That does not exist in Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. It just doesn't. The Cyberstein deck, chat, they used to do that. Cyberstein was a tier 1 deck during GX. Cyberstein used to side into Chainburn. You would side 15 cards because the mentality was that if you won game 1, which you were very likely to do, your opponent would side in a bunch of like anti-attack cards, things like Wabaku, Threatening Roar, and you'd be playing Burn. So those cards wouldn't fucking do anything against you. Like, those aspects just don't exist anymore. Cap, you suck, and John Moore sucks, and you don't play the game competitively. True. But that's why I also said, okay, then ask competitive players who have played the game longer than me. I feel like they're going to disagree with Farfa. Jeff Jones just ended up playing Orcus at Nats last year. And he's someone who I think is one of the best deck builders of all time. I don't think deck building is better now. Like, I just don't. Like, there are more cards, but that doesn't mean that it's better. Or the bigger thing it's definitely not fucking more interesting. Just because you can throw 2 archetypes together, first off, that's not new. Destiny, you can throw, let me think. I mean, Monarchs and Destiny Heroes were thrown together in like fucking 2006, chat. Perfect Circle Monarchs, if any of you guys have ever heard of that deck. Like, throwing 2 archetypes together that are centered, that have synergy, that's been a thing since like 15 years ago. That's not new. that is not Stratos and everything. Yeah, fucking, you guys ever heard of Elemental Heroes in Gladiator Beast? Like, that was a thing. Elemental Hero Stratos, E-Hero Prisma. That was a staple in Glad Beast, chat. This throwing 2 archetypes together and making them work a la Burning Abyss and Phantom Knights as what. No, that's not fucking new. We did that 15 years ago. Like, none of that is fucking new. So that's not even something you can be like, well, in this generation, no, that's not new at all. I can show you guys decks from like 2005 that did that, or not necessarily 2005, 2006 definitely. Yeah, 2006 definitely. Machina gadgets. Another thing is the meta is warping power cards. Another thing is that meta warping power cards tend to belong to a single archetype that concentrates, or excuse me, that's I can't read. That centralizes the meta more than a card like Crush Card, which could theoretically be played in any deck. Now they just run 6 to 9. Oh man, I don't want to be the anti-hand trap guy, chat. You guys know I don't want to be that, but that also could that be a factor, chat? Could that be a factor? The factor that every deck just runs Gamma, Ash, and Permanence. The fact that like we just have 10 cards, or like, you know, we could theoretically from format to format have like 9 to 12 hand trap kind of cards that are just like assorted, where they're just like, it doesn't matter what deck you're playing, you run Impermanence, you play Ash, then you play whatever other hand trap. Like that definitely was not like GX 5Ds, maybe not even really Zexal either. In Zexal, the most hand traps you really saw in any format was like 6. Like maybe you play Maxi and Baylor, that's basically it. Or maybe a Gores. Yeah, GX was not hand trap filled. Hand traps are only used because a deck is abusing a certain mechanic. Well, yeah, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, in the argument of Tenza, we're not looking at the final result. We're just taking it for what it is. Like if every deck is running like the same, if every deck is running 10 hand traps and it's the same 3 or 4 cards, like how interesting is deck building then? You know what I mean? Like I definitely don't think that's more interesting, chat. That's what I'm saying. Run 3 exchange, 3 drag downs instead of prayer time. Tengu Plans is deck building at its finest, says Victor. Victor, I don't necessarily. Oh my god. Which one of you guys just said running fucking? One of you guys just said running exchange, and then we randomly hop in. Wow, good format, by the way. Great format, chat. Great format. PogChamp. Farfa was right. Press 1 if Farfa was right, boys. Press 1 if Farfa was right. Great deck building. You activate exchange, show your opponent, you can summon ISO and just fucking win the game. Great fucking format, boys. Great fucking format. That's great deck building right there, chat. Activate exchange and just fucking win the game. What someone in the chat just like randomly said 3 exchange and 3 drag downs. We hop into a random game and we see that fucking card. We see exchange. Like this is the epitome of good deck building, an interesting format. Yeah, I definitely gotta love this. Is oh my god, so fucking unfun. Greatest format. The whole reason, chat, I would not put out an anti. I also don't want to be that guy, chat. I don't want to become, because even I would peg me as that guy. If I made a 15-minute video about like why Yu-Gi-Oh so, even I'd be like, oh, here comes Cap G, the Yu-Gi-Oh is dying guy. Like now, when I made that video, it was legit, but I don't want to be the Yu-Gi-Oh is dying. I don't want to be pegged as like the Yu-Gi-Oh is dying guy. So I'm just gonna like chill on that.